Hello everybody, patch 1.2 for Star Wars Battlefront II got released today, and with it come a lot of multiplayer changes, which we're going to talk about. There is no single-player DLC with this patch. We are expecting new single-player DLC in the future, and when that comes, I will do a playthrough of that stuff. But until then, we'll just kind of keep up on the multiplayer updates as they come, because this is still, despite all of the controversy that happened at launch, a pretty good game, and it is worth going and trying and playing. And I wanted to talk about what they added to the multiplayer. So the first thing is this limited time event that you're seeing in the background called Jetpack Cargo. It's basically what I didn't learn until about halfway through playing, is basically capture the flag, except you are rocket troopers and you have jetpacks. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to maneuver around. I don't get to play the rocket trooper a lot in multiplayer, so it took me a while to kind of relearn how to maneuver with them and how to use their rockets, but once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. I like these limited time events. They make sense because if you had a gameplay mode like this, it just segregates the player base down more. Then there's something to be said about, well, why don't you just add it to the standard multiplayer rotation? Because that doesn't work either. A lot of people won't enjoy this mode as much as I do, or other people, so it's kind of fun to have it as a limited time thing. I just wish that maybe there was a little bit more depth to it. It is cool. It's fun. It's a cool experiment at the very least that I really do enjoy playing. It's also fun just flying around because you feel like a budget Farah from Overwatch, and Farah is my character in Overwatch that I play. So it's a lot of fun. That said, there were other changes that came to the game, not necessarily this one limited time event. And some of them actually indicate what will be happening with the microtransactions in the future. Because they did say, because if you remember correctly, when the game launched, they removed the ability to buy loot crates and microtransactions. So it's just like, okay, clearly nobody likes this. Let's get it out of the game. And they did that. And up until this point, they've had it off. And they've recently said that they are going to be turning it back on, but it's going to be a much different system. So I think we're getting a look at what that is with this patch, and we'll talk about that later in the video. For now, let's talk about all of the multiplayer changes that came. Lots of buffs and nerfs across the board for heroes in particular. So like Luke got buffed, Rey got nerfed, Vader got nerfed, Boba Fett kind of got buffed. He just got changed a bit so he's easier to play. Yoda got buffed, Iden got buffed, Kylo got buffed, Phasma got buffed, Bosk and Chewie and Palpatine all got nerfed, and Lando got buffed. So those are kind of like, that's the general stance on all of that. And they nerfed rolling. So before, especially if you played on console, you would have seen a lot of this, where if you were playing like Kylo Ren, for example, or Luke, or anybody with a lightsaber, and you were trying to like hit people with a lightsaber, they could just roll away and be like immune to your lightsaber. And it was the most annoying thing ever, especially when people who knew how to do it did it really well, because you would never be able to kill them, and they could just take out the hero no matter what. Very, very annoying. They made it so it's a little different. It doesn't really behave the same way, but you know, rolling is still important. You just need to do it kind of when you are expecting about to be hit, rather than just roll spamming because you have a guy with a lightsaber coming after you. Speaking of lightsabers, they did increase the vibrance of the lightsabers and the blaster bolts. They're way more bright and they look a lot better in the game engine. They actually look fantastic on the darker maps, such as like Kashyyyk at night is a really good example. I love the way they look, and I'm kind of looking forward to more aesthetic changes potentially, but overall, if they keep those in for the single-player DLC, I think the single-player DLC will look even better. In fact, if this is just a change across the board and it's just like a simple slider for them to do, then that means that it's probably just in for the single-player in general. So if you haven't played the single-player of this game yet, it's just going to look twice as good for you, because the blaster bolts do look really good at night, and so do the lightsabers. Some other things they did was increase the amount of credits you get for having a duplicate when you get it out of a chest, which is great. That's always really nice, because you know, having enough credits to unlock all the hero characters is pretty important. They tweaked some of the way spawning works. They made it so milestones are claimed automatically. Arcade mode has new maps, which is great. If you are playing against or with the droids, they have a higher probability of dismemberment, which is hilarious. It was like 20% before. I think they moved it up to 40%. That's just kind of, it's part of the charm of the droids, and I think that's really cool that they did that. They added 2 free emotes across all of the classes, so that way you can actually have an emote if you haven't unlocked one through loot crates, and they also just generally changed some weapons and little tweaks around on the maps and everything. So the way the game is kind of panning out is they've gone with this is essentially a balance patch. They've gone through and balanced a ton of stuff, which is really good because it needed that. And it needed some tweaks here and there. For example, like the rolling, getting that fixed, and doing things like making the quality of life better, where milestones automatically claim rather than having you have to go back to the menu to claim them to get your credits to go back into the game. It kind of broke up the gameplay a bit. So they're just kind of fixing things across the board that really irked people when the game launched. That said, things that irked people when the game launched, with the new and improved, quote-unquote improved, monetary development of the game, trying to add loot boxes back in, I think it's going to make some people angry, because it was nice that they removed them, let's be honest, but I think a lot of people were expecting them to remain removed, including myself, until they recently announced that, no, they will be coming back in a different form. And what the community actually has been requesting is that it come in the form of cosmetic items, kind of like Overwatch, and that you get these items that are in the game that are essentially able to change the look of your heroes, the look of your classes, and make yourself look more unique and dynamic, and just have cool appearances across the board. Maybe even have like weapon skins, I don't know. But that seems to be where the community wants to go with things. And I like that idea a lot, because part of the cool thing of Star Wars is the aesthetic of Star Wars. Having a different version of Luke, like having a Last Jedi version of Luke, would be really cool, instead of having, standard Return of the Jedi Luke. So there's a lot of other cool things that they could do with that, as far as weapons are concerned, and as far as ship variation and having like different skins on your ship. That seems to be where people wanted to go, and I think that they're testing that out, because in this patch they added 3 skins. They added 3 appearances for some of the heroes. They added the Hoth appearances for Leia, Han Solo, and Luke Skywalker. And they're really cool looking, but they're only unlocked through a upcoming challenge that will be coming out. And it makes me wonder if they are testing the waters to see how people feel about this kind of stuff. Because if that's the case, they have talented artists. They could pump out a ton of skins really quick, put this stuff in the game, put that into the new loot crate system, and then just have that be the thing, instead of having all these like weird unlocks. I don't know if that's always going to be the case. I don't know if that's where they're going with it, but it seems like they're testing the waters for some of that stuff. As the game stands right now, it's kind of annoying having all these unlocks that you have to do for your weapons, and being effectively feeling like you're behind on some things. But the buffs aren't that big in general on a lot of the things. Some of them are. Some of them are a little crazy, when you get like really good epic cards versus the people who don't have them. But for the most part, they don't make a huge amount of difference. You still will need to be able to shoot somebody and actually hit them, as opposed to, just like spraying and praying and being able to kill a ton of people. So when it comes down to how the system currently works in the game versus what it could potentially be with the addition of cosmetics, I'm not sure how it'll pan out, but I'm open to the idea of them adding a cosmetic loot crate system as opposed to what they currently have. We shall see. It's probably going to be very difficult for them to remove what they have, because the game is so reliant on that system. Either way, DLC is going to be free for this game, which is great. And their whole business plan with that was to make sure that the community wasn't fragmented, and that you can play with your friends without having to worry about if they have all the DLC or not. Because that stuff can get expensive very quickly, and it did with the first Battlefront. So it makes you wonder where they could potentially go with that kind of thing, considering they want the DLC to be free in this. which is totally fine, and I do appreciate that. And I'm super appreciative of it because you're getting free single player DLC, which is really important to me. But again, like, I don't know if they can potentially ever remove things or change things in the way the game is currently based as it stands. But with that said, you know, the game is getting updates still. It is going to continue to get DLC. So the question comes into mind, is the game worth picking up if you do not have it? No, I don't think it is. Not yet. I think if you wait until the game to be on sale, then it totally would be. If you buy it at full price, you're probably kind of cheating yourself a little bit. So wait for the game to go on sale, then pick it up. You'll enjoy all the benefits of the patches that have come thus far and fixed the game. You'll enjoy the benefit of free DLC that has already come out, and you'll be able to go and play the single player stuff, which is actually really, really good. At least in my opinion, it's really, really good. So the multiplayer, if you're into that kind of thing, it continues to get better with all these patches, and it looks like they are doing a very good job of giving the game a good vision for the direction in the future. And I'm kind of curious to see what they do, you know, with maybe some additional support put behind the game if they are actually going to do the cosmetic change. I don't know. We shall see. But as it stands right now, don't pick up the game unless it's on sale. If it goes on sale, then it's absolutely worth it, but at full price, not right now. It's definitely not. I will keep you guys up to date on any more patches that come out, and especially, like I said, with the single player DLC, we'll be playing through any of that. They are going to be having like a Season 2 thing coming soon, which it looks like it may focus on the Clone Wars, which sounds awesome, and I'm kind of excited to see where that goes, if that is the case. If not, then, you know, we're going to play the stuff anyways. I'm just kind of curious to see what we get out of it. That being said, we shall see you guys next time.